Hello everyone, welcome back to MLS Moves. Please make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Before we get to the video, I'd like to thank you all for your support and remind you that we're doing a jersey giveaway when we hit 3,000 subscribers. 3,000 subscribers is our goal to reach by the end of this month, so make sure you subscribe, stay subscribed, follow me on Twitter at MLS Moves for the latest updates on the giveaway. Now, on to the video. In the world of sports, few topics spark as much debate and contention as the concept of promotion and relegation. This fundamental structure, woven into the fabric of various sporting leagues across the world, embodies both the spirit of meritocracy and the harsh realities of competition. At its core, promotion and relegation symbolize opportunity and consequence, offering teams a chance to ascend to glory or face the harsh reality of demotion. Yet beneath its surface lies a complex web of arguments, ranging from its role in fostering competitiveness to its potential impact on financial stability. Today, I brought my friend Tactical Manager on to discuss promotion relegation in America and whether he thinks it will ever happen, what could be the benefits of it happening in America, and also giving my perspective on America adopting a promotion and relegation system. Okay, today we have Tactical Manager coming in here. We're going to talk about promotion relegation in the United States and specifically Major League Soccer. Are they ever going to adapt this format? If not, are there other leagues like possibly USL that will adapt this system? Tac, welcome in. I'm glad that you were able to make it. How's it going?
I'm going good. Going good. I'm doing good. And when you told me I was gonna record with you, I thought your face was just the logo MLS Smooth. I thought that was your face, but it's not.
Yeah, I'm actually a real person, believe it or not. I don't know if you guys see me. First time, big reveal, how to do it with my friend Tactical Manager. But here I am. Get used to the face. No more logo only.
I mean, we're not certain that you're still a real person. It could be AI,
Yeah.
but it looks like you might be a real person.
Maybe. I don't know. I could be AI. I mean, things are pretty convincing these days, right? I mean, you just never know. You could be AI this whole time as well, right?
No,
How
no,
many
I'm
people have
real.
met you in person?
A lot of people. I'm real. Or
Okay.
am I? Or am I?
I don't know. But yeah, as far as promotion relegation, I know that this is obviously a very conflicting argument or there's a lot of debate between this. Should MLS have it? Should America, adopt the promotion relegation system? What has been your take on MLS specifically with promotion relegation?
Well, usually, let me just make one thing clear. I don't I don't care if MLS has it or not. I think US soccer needs to have it because promotion relegation won't come from MLS. It won't happen in MLS unless it's there's only two ways it would happen in MLS. One is if it's enforced by the federation, which is a very tricky subject for it to happen. The other way it happens is if MLS stagnates or is struggling and they're like, okay, we need something different. So let's try this. It would have to be. I don't see MLS struggling. I think worst case scenario they'll stagnate. That's the worst case scenario. I don't see MLS like having a actual crisis. I don't see it. I could be wrong. And in regards to the federation enforcing it, I don't see it in the near future. I would never say never, but in the near future, no. Where do I stand? I think U.S. soccer needs promotion relegation for multiple reasons, which we can dive into in the episode, and how it could happen, why. I'm not trying to convince anyone. I'm not the one that has the absolute truth and the solution to U.S. soccer. It's really just my opinion on it, and I will happily elaborate on it, but I am for it.
Now, as far as wanting promotion relegations, I'm sure there's many points to why you want it to be implemented into America, right? Especially like the traditional thing where every serious league has promotion and relegation. Do you believe that MLS or, it's obviously the first tier league in this country. That's why obviously I reference it so much because you've said that you just want to see it in general in America. You don't care what league it is. You just want to see some type of implement or you want to see
Let me
promotion.
expand on that. Sorry to interrupt. Let me expand on that, Will. It's not that I mean that I want it in America. It's just that it has to come from the federation because the way the pyramid would work is you do need the parachute payments. If anyone wants to, I don't think we're going to dive into this in this episode. Look up how for example, the Premier League works for example, in England with the EFL Championship and all of that. It would have to work like that, the pyramid. What I just want is a open pyramid where you can go up the ranks through merit, and people are going to go, oh, but you can get a rich owner and invest. Yeah, even if he invests, you still have to start in the bottom, and you have to win games. Sure, if you usually the teams that spend more money, they win the leagues, or they're usually among the best in the league. It's not always the case. You look at the Premier League right now, Chelsea spent more than anyone else. They're mid-table. So it's not always the case. You still have to win. It's not like you can just pay a franchise fee and magically appear in the first division. I want something that's merit-based, that makes soccer accessible in this country, and also increases the number of professional clubs with resources at the end of the day. You'd probably dilute it more for sure. You wouldn't be so top heavy like MLS is these days in America. But I also want US soccer to, work together as a unit. We have a competition among leagues these days, which is not good. We see like MLS trying to get, do certain things that will hurt USL. The Open Cup, for example, is a good example. What's happening within the 11, San Diego Loyal, these are strategic moves because these leagues are competing. This is not good for US soccer. It's not good for USL to try to hurt MLS or MLS to hurt USL. Obviously, MLS has more power. So when it comes to hurting one another, it's going to be MLS hurting USL more often than the other way around. But US soccer doesn't work together these days. Soccer is meant to be a competition among clubs, not leagues. That's the point.
No, exactly. And I guess one of the questions I have for you, and because like I had mentioned, there's probably a lot of variables of why you want promotion relegation in America. But is it more of like the community aspect, or do you really, or is it more in order for us to reach our potential as a league and a country, we have to have some sort of promotion or relegation for clubs to reach their most potential, teams to reach their most potential, players reach their most potential. Is that obtainable if you don't have promotion or relegation in this country?
I think well, let's go by parts because that's a lot of questions at once. Players potential. I think we can still clearly develop players through MLS's system, and MLS's system is still going to improve their youth ranks and everything. The main issue I have with youth development in the US, it's mainly through ages 3. Well, again, you're not going to develop a 3-year-old, but we don't have the culture of like the kids playing when they're young, so they lose some crucial years of technical development. And I would want MLS to be more engaged with the community, not to have academies for 5-year-olds. Like, no way. They should never be into that. But ways to motivate parents and improve the soccer culture and increase the community outreach. And what happens is when you have an MLS team, like, for example, Orlando City, and you don't have other teams in the community that can compete, it's the only team in town, you can get complacent. You can also suck for 15 years and just get by, pay the bills, and then all of a sudden you decide to be good and try to win MLS. We've seen that with many MLS franchises. There's no punishment for being. Am I allowed to curse here? I don't even know.
I haven't yet, but I guess you can. Yeah, it's no big deal.
Like, there's no punishment for being shit.
Yeah.
That's the truth. You can suck for multiple seasons and then out of nowhere just become good again. And some people find that magical. I don't. I think if you're crap, and it's like, oh, but the club's gonna get relegated and folds. Like, well, you sucked. If you fold, you have bad finances. Okay, you go bankrupt. That's your problem. There are clubs going bankrupt in the U.S. anyway. Whether there's a closed or open pyramid, that's going to happen. And isn't it a business? Isn't that what we call? So businesses go bankrupt if they're poorly run. I do think we can build a healthy pyramid. I also think having more clubs in America uh, would allow us to go improve the grassroots access to the game. There would be more local clubs, and you would reduce the amount of pay to play. I'm not saying there wouldn't be growing pains with all of this. Of course, there would be. And like I said, it would have to be a pyramid where the top tier is what sort of subsidized the rest. Obviously, the second division generates revenue and all that, but it's truly subsidized through that. And you start with regional tournaments or state tournaments, whatever you prefer, and you start to open up through that, and then you have your whole pyramid. Like I said, you can go more or less with England. I think that the US would probably have to go more towards like what Brazil has of like state tournaments and nationals because we're such a big country. And It's just that maximizing player potential is a tricky conversation because MLS is developing way better players than they ever have, and I still think that's going to improve. But are we scouting everywhere in this country? Is MLS, whatever, I don't know how many teams you think MLS is going to finally stop expanding? 36, 32? It's not
Maybe
going to be
40.
30, maybe
Maybe.
40.
Mm.
Is 40 top, well, top tier clubs in America, not even top tier, but just 40 clubs or 40 teams in America. Is that enough to scout? That means we don't have one in every state, just for starters, in all these other big cities. Um, well, you could have it, and you can see it with USL. There is room for it, and once we have promotion relegation, soccer in this country can all start to move together, and we can stop having USL and MLS battling it out. NISA, we had the NISA battle a few years back. Um, like one thing that just annoys me, for example, we have the New York Cosmos is such an iconic brand in soccer in the United States of America, and it's just inactive because of these stupid battles.
Mm.
Whether it's MLS, NISA, Rocco Comiso, whose fault it is, I think it's everyone's. Just a battle. It's just not healthy for U.S. soccer. Um, the Indy 11 saga that's happening right now as we record this. But mainly that I don't know if I answered the entire question because there were many questions in one,
Yeah.
but I'm sure you'll bring it up again and I'll try to expand upon it a bit more.
Well, one thing I was going to ask you is, so we both know that MLS likes to do things their own way. For better or worse, they don't
Mhm.
like to do things the typical way. They like to put their own spin on it, whether it be roster rules, the way they schedule things. Um, so my question for you is, and I've thought a lot about this, if say MLS does get to 40 teams, right? Which is very possible. I think that's the way it's heading because they love those expansion fees, right? They just keep
Mhm.
going up in price. And then when they finally hit that number, who knows what they're going to be? They might be close to $1 billion by the time it's all said and done. I mean, San Diego just spent 500 million for their expansion fee.
Well, it could go down also depending on how much you dilute it, right? Because essentially, I would say those are shares of the league when you buy it. Essentially, when
I
you're buying a
guess it really just
franchise.
depends on the market too. What
Yeah.
city you're buying into.
Yes.
Um, so let's just hypothetically say we get to 40 clubs. Okay. If MLS eventually implemented their form of promotion relegation with 40 teams, MLS one, MLS two, 20 clubs in the first tier, 20 clubs in the second tier, is that going to be good enough for you? Or do you think that you would still want more? Or, like I personally would be okay with that because I mean, I think a lot of people would take that over what we have right now. Because, like what you alluded to, there's teams in MLS that are just absolutely shit, and there is no punishment for being bad. They're just constantly bad over and over again. Coaches get long leashes, 3-4 years. There's no punishment for losing continuously. And why are the fans even watching into the season when they're at the bottom of the table and there is no repercussions for being a bad club?
So let's go by parts on that one too. Would I prefer that over what we have now? Yes, no doubt about it. Is that an actual open pyramid? No, it's not an actual open pyramid. And then I'll bring the question back to you. If they're gonna do that and expand it to 40 teams, why not just keep expanding? Have more professional teams in the US and then do three divisions, maybe four, or they do it themselves, like state, region, division three, two, and one. Just if you're gonna go that route, just keep expanding. Sure, the franchise fees will go lower, yeah, but then you already have the top tier, the second tier, from what you're saying, MLS one, MLS two. Then you create a third tier, and that one, the franchise fees is where you start, which will be obviously cheaper than
Mm.
the millions and millions they're getting. But then if you're gonna go that route that you just mentioned, then just do it that way, which is not, I would say it's not exactly what I would want, but 100%. If you say, "Hey, do you want that?" I was like, "Way better than what we have now." And again, people are gonna take a lot of things I say here out of context. Say I'm delusional, promotion relegation. I'm not delusional. I don't think it will happen with MLS. I don't think it would ever happen within MLS unless it's that. That's the
Yeah.
most realistic scenario for MLS on its own implementing some type of promotion relegation within it. But again, when I talk about promotion relegation being implemented, no one's going to convince the billionaires to just open the pyramid for USL. That's not going to happen. But
No,
that way that you just described is something that MLS many, many years from now, it's not going to be now. Like you said, first they have to expand to 40. That's that's at least 10 years, 10 to 12
at
years, at
least, yeah,
least, maybe
yeah,
more. Once you get there, you have to figure out how you're going to do this where the early investors or someone's not pissed that they're relegated, who starts in the second division, um, how's it going to work, what's the future. So we're talking about something that for it to happen, probably 20 years
yeah. No, no, I
at
I
the
agree
earliest.
with that, and I think that that's a good point you bring up. How would you determine who starts off in the second tier? You'd
Yeah.
probably have to do a season where 40 teams play in the first division, which is kind of chaotic. I don't. I think MLS is technically the biggest soccer league in the world by of like teams in the first division, right?
Out of top tiers, probably, yeah.
Yeah, I think Argentina's like second. They got like 24, 26 teams in the first division. But one of the issues too, Filippo, is there's a lot of teams that just don't play each other. Like, how can you do, like this is another issue with having a big league like this, and why I kind of want to see this happen one day. I don't know if you saw this, but like the Red Bulls just played LAFC last week, right? This was the first time the two clubs have played each other since 2021, and they're both in the first division. So how can you say a team is the best club in MLS when they haven't played all the teams and they haven't even played a certain team in 3 years? So having 20 teams, 20 teams in the first division, 20 teams in the second division, not only does that, implement the promotion relegation, punish bad teams, but it also makes sure that when you have 20 teams in your first division, they're all playing each other at least 2 times. And that way, when you crown a champion or supporter shield, right, you know that that's actually the best team because they have the most points after playing every single club in MLS at least 2 times.
Yeah, the MLS's unbalanced schedule, I'm not a big fan of it, and I think it I don't know if you agree that it does actually favor certain teams sometimes.
Yeah.
Whether it's on purpose or accidental, we can't comment on that, we don't know. But you can build a schedule that is unbalanced and it favors certain teams specifically. I don't like it, and it is true. The overall argument of that is true. Now, it's very complicated to do a first division in the US. You would need a lot of flexibility in the schedule because there's a lot of travel. So you have to be very smart about it. Because when I talk, for example, about Brazil, Brazil's a very big country, but it's not as big as the US, and it's also very concentrated where the population stays, much more than the US, not as spread out. So a lot of the people live and a lot of the teams are by the coast. So for example, in the first division, you have 4 teams from Sao Paulo and 4 teams from Rio. So right there, almost half of the first division. And those are 2 cities that are as far from each other as Miami and Orlando. So it's as if half of the league almost is there. And then if you add the teams from Minas Gerais or Belo Horizonte in Brazil, that's 2 more. So that's 10 out of 20 that are all within like a 250, 300 miles radius.
Mhm.
For the US, that's not feasible. It's not the same. So it's a bit complicated, the logistics of it. You'd probably still need to separate it into conferences, and you'd have to just play the champion of each conference uh, has to face each other for the title of America, like the top team in the US. That would probably still be the way. And maybe just don't have teams from each conference face each other during the regular season, just completely separate it. East, West, Western teams just play each other twice, Eastern team plays each other twice, and then the champion of each one plays. Is it 100% fair? Probably not, but it's as fair as it gets, right? This is the team that won this conference versus this one. So technically, this is the best here versus the best there. It's as fair as it would get. Probably would have to separate it that way. I do not like the concept of MLS being like what you mentioned, just like a first division with no conference, just everyone. It's just too big of a country. It would probably become an issue.
Especially when Major League Soccer was at like 20 teams like 10 years ago. They've, obviously expanded pretty rapidly. That was a huge complaint because these guys don't have jets. The clubs don't. Like these
Mhm.
guys are having to take public flights, connecting flights. I mean, there's layovers. I think it was the infamous Chris Wondolowski, to national team fans, who said that he had like a 10-hour layover the day after a game, or maybe it was the day before the game. And that can wear and tear on a guy. You just played, or you're preparing to play, and now you get to wait at the airport for 10 hours. So I mean, there is a lot of logistical nightmares when you're talking about just like you said, the where teams are located. I think Miami is like 3,000 miles from Los Angeles, something like that.
Well,
So
and
I mean,
time zone too doesn't help.
3 hour time, yeah, 3 hour time difference. So yeah, I mean, when you're talking about, like you said, all the clubs that are close in Brazil, I mean, if they're close in proximity, or England, like how many Premier League teams are in London? Like six, seven. So I mean, it makes it a lot easier. There's not a big issue. You can just take a bus ride to a different part of town and everything's good. So that is a hurdle that you have to cross, I guess. Maybe that's part of their thinking about promotion relegation in general, like just the logistics of, well, what if there's only one team on the west? That's just the way it is. There's only one team on the west and the 19 other clubs are on the east coast. So now that one team on the west is that far away, and for travel, if there is a promotion relegation system, you know what I mean? Like that is kind of a nightmare to have that situation.
I want to. There's two issues here too. For example, in terms of like, well, I want to go back to promotion relegation for 1 second, but before that, I want to talk about the grassroots and the
Mhm.
traveling. One of the biggest issues in youth soccer in America, the travel teams, is how much parents have to pay for
Mhm.
travel and the distance these kids have to travel. Where I've always said, like at the youth level, it should just all be within the state, each
Mhm.
one have it just within it. There's no reason a U12 player needs to play a tournament like from Florida, go to Seattle or California, or to like just make a regional. Sure, you can eventually have a national tournament for the best of the best of the best, but it should mostly be there. That is something that I wanted to address because promotion relegation, if done correctly with the pyramid, you can have enough professional teams just to have it within that little region and just keep it all there, make it cheaper. One thing I wanted to touch upon is when we talk about having a whole pyramid, a healthy soccer pyramid, a promotion relegation one, where you have so many teams, and like I said, the top tier parachute payments, and you make it sustainable. You have all these teams, you increase the number of free academies
Mhm.
because these teams, that's what's cheaper to invest on. What is cheaper, to invest in academy and try to bring up a player from your academy, lower salary, or to sign up freaking Carlos Vela, or not even Carlos Vela, just to sign a player that is already a professional? His salary will be higher. If you're a 17, 18 year old coming out of academy, you're willing to accept less money because you want to start your career. And um, that's why homegrown deals are usually cheaper,
Yeah.
obviously. It's cheaper to do that, and you can sell players to Europe, or even sell to the top tier, to MLS, to USL Championship, whatever the second division is. But the one thing that's very important too is when you have that, and then these clubs are capable of existing through this healthy, open soccer pyramid, um, you get solidarity payments in the future. What are solidarity payments? I don't know the exact age that it is, but I believe from if you develop a player in a free academy, it can be pay to play from ages 13 to 21. I think those are the ages. Every transfer fee of that player in the future, by FIFA rules, you get a tiny percentage of it. Not that tiny, like a small percentage of it, which for teams in low tiers, that can sometimes be a random $100,000 payment, which is a pretty big deal. You improve, like you just simply improve grassroots with it. That's another thing to point out. And once again, it's not that easy to implement all this, and it takes time, and you have to really do it correctly. But it just increases all of that because the problem with the pay to play system too today, I'm not opposed to having soccer schools that you have to pay for, but I think we do need more free academies. And sure, MLS does do that to their credit. They have their free academies, but we don't have enough. You live in a city like, say, Houston. I've been to Houston. Depending on where you live in Houston, you can be like 1 hour away from the Dynamo Academy.
Yeah.
So you need to have more in the region. Like the parents can't take it there. And then if they can't get to that free one, the other option is one that you have to pay for. And
Yeah.
here is one big problem with that. And I'll tell you what. Well, let's say you have a soccer school, a very good one. You have great coaches, and you're charging $3,000 a year because it's a business. You have to make money. You don't get solidarity payments. You can't move up the pyramid. You're not subsidized by anything. You just have to charge it. That's what it is. Your business is that. Parents pay you, you coach the kids, and I don't know, when they're older, they go play in college or something.
Mhm.
But then you get this kid that is freaking amazing. And he's like 11. And you're like, holy crap, this kid can play for an academy. Uh, would you send him to the MLS academy?
Would I send him to the MLS Academy if he can play? Yeah, I would,
Why?
because he's good enough.
Well, you're going to lose money
But
and
I,
a good player that you can win games. Why would you
but
do
it,
it?
I would send him because of looking at the long term play of what he could be and maybe the exposure he could get long term.
Okay, let's say you have 20 players and 15 of them are good enough. Are you sending them? You'll go bankrupt.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah,
You're
yeah,
not going to do it. You won't
yeah,
do it. Trust me, you won't do it. It doesn't make sense for you. You're like, wait a second. I have this guy that is making me money because their parents pay for it, and he's helping me win games, which helps my advertisement here. Hey, my team wins trophies because in America we care about youth trophies, which is stupid.
yeah,
Instead of developing players, you won't send it. It's a broken system for youth development. So when you talk about promotion relegation, that's another issue. That does it 100% fix it? No. You go to Brazil, you have paid soccer schools. But and again, for Christ's sakes, I understand we don't have the soccer culture Brazil has. I understand that because people are going to bring that up in the comment section. But my overall point about it is you increase the amount of clubs that you have. And these clubs will have to rely on developing players in their region and investing in the academy because it's cheaper. It's cheaper. And they're going to want to develop to sell. And again, if they develop a player to MLS and they'll sell, they'll want to do it. There's motivation to do it.
yeah.
That's one of the points. It's like we have our current soccer structure is broken because the way American sports work, a lot of it goes through the college system. Football, baseball, basketball. But unfortunately, that doesn't work in soccer. Our college development or our youth or whatever, like our development system for those, it doesn't work for soccer. So it
No.
has to be something different. And that's my overall point. And unfortunately, we like it or not, I love this country and I love most of the things the way we do it. And I am honestly not opposed to MLS doing things their own way, like a lot of the things you said. I have issues with how low the salary cap is. I think that should be higher, but I'm not against the salary cap. That's one thing people don't realize. I'm not against it. I'm for the salary cap. I'm against how low it is and the stupid roster restrictions, but not the cap itself. And a lot of things that MLS does their own way, I'm not against it at all. But unfortunately, the world's been around with soccer for much longer than us. They've had soccer for longer than us. They do know how to do it better. So copying some things from them is not a bad thing. And then we copy and we do it our own way and we make it better. That's usually what we do. That's the overarching point of it.
Well, one more question I had for you, and then we'll wrap up the promotion relegation conversation. Is recently Indianapolis announced they were building a beautiful stadium, USL club, right? The Indy 11, beautiful stadium, and then
20,000 people, right?
20,000 people. Yes, I think it maybe Louisville's is bigger or will be bigger. I'm not sure. It's close, right? It's either the biggest or second biggest USL stadium there is. And then recently, I want to say it was the mayor of Indianapolis who said that they were going to try to um, and try to get an MLS franchise to come to MLS or to Indianapolis or entice someone to start a franchise in MLS or in Indianapolis. Does it feel like MLS is trying to undercut what USL is doing because they are kind of putting their feet to the fire? Like you had a video with Greg Lawless recently talking about USL and liking some of the things they're implementing. Do you think the MLS is targeting USL or the markets that they are also targeting to try to undercut them? Like you mentioned earlier, San Diego, I would say that the San Diego USL team is essentially dead now
Mhm.
because they're putting the MLS team there.
Well, and I said this years ago that MLS would do it. I think 2, 3 years ago. Well, they were already doing it, and yes, of course they are. But here's the thing. We can try to blame MLS, but are they wrong? What
No.
is Don Garber supposed to do? It's like, okay, there's this league here that can't really compete with us, but is a little bit of a threat. Like they are technically competing with us a little bit. Should he just, oh, let's help them out. Let's help them grow. Let's not bother them. So I can't really blame them. They are, but I can't really blame MLS for that. The one to blame here is the federation because These leagues are competing with each other because the federation allowed the closed system, the D1 sanction. They control all of that. They're the ones that can regulate it. And I'm open. I prefer a free market and let them compete. But the thing is, and then we would have. I did an episode on this a long time ago of how MLS was subsidized through the federation for quite some time. There's been a lot of help, which I'm okay with. We needed that for U.S. soccer, but then they should have a commitment to soccer in this country and not do things that hurt it. And again, don't get me wrong, MLS has done a lot of things good for soccer in this country, but something like that, or the San Diego Loyal dying, and how things happen, how they come to exist, like some of the franchises, it isn't good for U.S. soccer to have a team that's growing in that city for, like, they've been around for like over a decade in the 11, and they've been growing, and then and the San Diego Loyal, and again, yes, they're absolutely doing that. I don't blame MLS. I blame the federation.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what what other expansion cities or what other clubs in USL have plans, and to see, just kind of follow and see what MLS
Tampa,
does.
Vegas, they'll come for Tampa at some point. That's a strong
Oh yeah,
market in USL. They'll come for Tampa.
they'll definitely have 3 MLS teams in Florida at some point. There definitely will. It's just big enough. I mean, there's so many soccer fans there in the state. It could easily support 3
Well, and
clubs.
if you want to really hurt USL, you come for Tampa with the Rowdies.
The Rowdies, yeah.
They'll come at some point for Tampa, and they can come back to this video later on. It will happen at some point.
Well, I'm actually curious. I want people to comment down below. Are you guys for or against promotion relegation in MLS or in American soccer in general? Would you guys like to see an MLS 1.0 or MLS 1, MLS 2, or does it have to be a full-fledged promotion relegation system to succeed? Comment down below. Let me know what you think. Tack, I appreciate you coming by. It's always good to talk to you. We finally get to talk in person over camera. You get to see them real person, like you alluded to earlier. Allegedly, right? AI will. Where can people follow you at?
Don't follow me, guys. Don't follow me. But
You
anyhow,
have to follow him. You have to follow him.
On YouTube, it's just Tactical Manager TV. On Instagram, it's Tactical Manager TV, and I think Twitter or X, that's different. It's like Manager Tactical, because someone had my name there already, apparently, so I had to use that stupid handle. I kind of like it.
Yeah, I always get that confused. I was gonna actually give you the shout out, but I was like, I can't remember which account it was. It's reversed. It's flipped.
Twitter.
So yeah. Well, I appreciate it, man, and hopefully we'll have a second part coming up soon where we talk a little bit more about MLS. So you guys stay tuned for that episode as well. Comment down below and let me know if you think promotion and relegation should be adopted in America. Is that the way to reach our most potential in soccer in this country? Also, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification so you never miss a video. And until next time, I will see you all soon.